It was a bright Tuesday morning, and I had just dropped my two little girls to Orange Crescent School in Garden Grove. While taking care of my 6-month son, Noor Dean, the phone rang. It was my dear mother asking me if I was okay. The tone in her voice gave me some concern. As she told me to turn on the TV, there was some breaking news. The World Trade Center has just been hit by hijackers. I couldn't believe in my eyes, as if this was a movie, a black and white movie. Channel 11 News has just reported that 2,996 innocent victims were killed and over 6,000 were wounded. It was September 11, 2001, a day that will be stamped in our children's history books and commemorated every single year for the rest of our lives. Who is responsible for this? Unfortunately, it comes to be known that we Muslims were blamed for this terrorist attack. Islam is now being targeted, and hatred is being spread, causing an Islamophobia. Islam is my religion, and it's been hijacked. What is Islamophobia? Islamophobia was a term made up to describe or dislike of a prejudice against Islam or Muslims, especially as a political force. So why not Christian phobia or Jewish phobia? Why Islamophobia? The term Islamophobia was created way before September 11 by fascists and used by cowards to manipulate morons. But its term became more common in the age of ISIS and Islamicist politics today. Islam is not a race, ethnicity, or nationality, but a set of beliefs in which I believe in. Islam is not a terrorist religion. Criticism of these ideas should never be confused with an animus towards people, but unfortunately it is. This phrase traces back from 1910 to Alain Coulin, a French who uses this word Islamophobe to criticize French colonial administrators for their treatment of Muslims. The earliest historical usage in English was in 1985, so I was approximately 10 years at the time, by a theorist named Edward Said, when he wrote The Connection Between Islamophobia and Anti-Semitist. The term Islamophobia describes prejudice and hostility towards Muslims, not an irrational fear of Islam. The people will often quote doctrines regarding jihad and take it out of context. They say that women are oppressed, but the Quran states that men and women are equal. In fact, in Turkey, there are more female representatives and head of the state than the USA. So why is this happening? Why are we being blamed? I asked myself. The term Islamophobia is offensive because the term is identified to Muslims as a terrorist group as a whole. This bigotry and anti-Muslim sentiment, and not based on rational response but an emotional one. When the Muslims were accused of attacking the Twin Towers, Islam was attacked as a whole from people fearing Muslims. Mosques were being burned down, Muslims were being harmed and threatened, women's hijabs were being pulled off and burnt from the tips. One person with an accent told me, "Go back to your country." And as I thought to myself, how is that when I was born here? Where would I go? Although later it was learned that the Bush and Clinton administration were responsible for the attack, and it was only an excuse for them to attack Iraq for their oil. But the media used the Muslims as a fear to manipulate them from the truth. Islam is my religion, and it's been hijacked. Not until this day did I feel unwelcome to live here. For the next few days, I kept my children in my arms and refused to take them to school. I was concerned for their safety until the school called and told us that they've hired and made their security measures a lot higher than before. They've actually decided to call the police to protect the area, and also hire a security guard to monitor the area and put cameras. I've come to learn that Islamophobia existed way before September 11th, but became more alive and more attractive after this day. It gave people just an excuse to express their hostility towards Muslims. You know, I feel like, unfortunately, Islam has been hijacked. And the reason for that is because Muslims were taught that when we have a trust, we must not break it. We are entrusted to live in these lands, and when we have an agreement, then we are not allowed to break it. Allah loves not the treacherous. In Surah Al-Anfal, verse 58, Sayyidina Abu Huraira, Allah be pleased with him, narrates that the Messenger of Allah, Allah please him and give him peace, the signs of a hypocrite are three: when he speaks his lies, when he makes a promise and breaks it, and when he is given trust and he breaches it. And this is in Sahih al-Bukhari, number 33. So a Muslim is not allowed to break his agreement. So when we live in a non-Muslim country, and scholars have divided the countries into a non-Muslim country and a Muslim country. And so we do live in a non-Muslim country. But as living in a non-Muslim country, as long as it doesn't break the Sharia law, we are to abide by the law, as long as it's not going to create sin. So what happened there definitely is not an act of a true Muslim. So, Islam is my religion, and it's been hijacked. So now it's time to educate people. I was offered by an instructor by the name of Nicole Quinn, who works at Long Beach City College, to give classes voluntarily and teach about the 5 pillars of Islam. This was a big challenge for me, because I realized that not many people know much about Islam, other than what they hear on the news. So before I started my lecture, I decided to ask some questions. I wanted to know what people knew about Islam. And of course, unfortunately, they only know what they know about Islam through the media. But I can't blame them, because we're not doing enough to educate them. So when I first asked the question of what do you know about Islam, I heard the most negative information. The first person that raised his hand stated the word, or the person, Osama bin Laden. The next thing that next person that raised their hand said it was a religion. And the third said Satan. So now it's our job to step in. This is why we need to have more Islamic institutes to seek knowledge. After we seek Islamic knowledge, we must go out and educate the people. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Convey knowledge from me, even if it is a verse," in Bukhari. This is the only way to remove wrong belief and or actions. But we must not just teach it, we must also be applying it to our lives and be an example for others, just like the Prophet, peace be upon him. Until today, my son, Abdurrahman, which means worshipper of peace, gets bullied at school and is being called names, and they make bombing sounds, and they say Allahu Akbar, not knowing that his name is a peaceful name and that he means no harm. So we must continue to strive. We must continue to move forward. We must continue to educate. This is the only way we're going to go from light, from darkness to light. I understand that we are in a period of, this must be a period of trials and tribulations. Allah will never give us more than we can handle. I know I need to be strong in my faith. At one time, a fatwa was given by a scholar stating that it was permissible for a woman to take off her hijab to avoid harm, but I refused to do so. There were many friends of mine that were confused and afraid, and unfortunately they went with that fatwa. But I refused to do so. I realized that if I'm going to die, I would die a Muslim. And just like Bilal, he said, La ilaha illallah. He said, Ahad, Ahad, Ahad. One God, one God, one God. I must believe in the truth that I must not fear my faith because my faith is right and the people are wrong. My Islam is my religion and it's been hijacked. As Hamza Yusuf said, beauty of knowledge and wisdom needs to be sought out. Islam came to spread peace, not war. It's time to show our true colors. In conclusion, Islamophobia was a made-up word that demonstrates a fear of Muslims. Islam is not a phobia, nor is Christianophobia, nor is Jewishophobia. We must seek knowledge first and apply it to our life and teach it to others, just like the Prophet, peace be upon him. As the Prophet, peace be upon him, says, whoever travels to the path of knowledge, Allah will make the path of paradise easy. Islam is right, the Quran is right, the teachings of the Prophet is right, but the people are wrong, and we must separate the two. So in order to correct Islamophobia, we must educate one another. We must take our Islam back, because if we don't, we will let others dictate it for us. Now it's time to get my Islam. Islam is my religion, and it's been hijacked. Thank you.